Could you explain again? I believe yesterday you said, I am is the portal through which eternity comes into existence.
Comes into time.
Comes into time.
Time, yes.
Could you explain that again, please?
Do you understand that in awareness's experience of itself, there is no knowledge of time prior to the arising of mind? That is, thought and perception. Prior to the arising of thought and perception, there is no experience of time. Deep sleep is one example of that. No mind, no time. Yeah? As soon as the mind arises again in the morning, time seems to exist again. So, for awareness prior to the mind, there is no time. So it is when awareness assumes the form of the mind, or the activity of the mind, that awareness itself seems to appear as time. So what is the way? How does awareness appear in the form of mind? By localizing itself. Each of us is a localization of awareness, and it is this localization of awareness, through this localization, that thinking and perceiving take place. So if we, as this localization, this separate self, we investigate our primary experience, we come to this experience, I am. So I am is the portal through which the separate self passes on its way back to its true nature. In other words, the knowledge I am is the last experience the separate self has on its way back to its true nature. But it is the first experience consciousness has, leaving its true nature, on its way to becoming a finite mind. So the knowledge I am is like a prison door that says bondage on one side and freedom on the other side. So that the criminal who has just been sent to prison, he enters the prison door. Through the prison door, he loses his freedom. When he passes through it this way, he passes through the same door in the other direction 6 years later, and he gains his freedom. So the door he loses his freedom as he passes through it one way, and he gains his freedom as he passes through it the other way. That's the I am. Consciousness, through this portal, limiting itself as the finite mind, consciousness loses its freedom, seems to lose its freedom as it seems to become the separate self. When it passes through the same portal, the knowledge I am, in the other direction, it regains its freedom. This is why Krishnamurti titled one of his books, The First and Last Freedom. What is the last freedom for consciousness in one direction is the first freedom for the individual in the other direction. So I don't see that look of satisfaction on your face. So,
rightly or wrongly, I was putting that together with an imagery in my mind of existence emerging, existing and dissolving, and somehow I thought that portal through which being, or you can call it divinity, comes in to see as the being, and I was trying to relate that to the time of the body and mind, and somehow I could imagine eternity.
Eternity is being.
Yes,
Pure being is in eternity. Prior to the arising of existence, pure being is in eternity. There's no time there.
Right.
When being assumes the form of existence, then time and space
Right.
appear.
Okay. Is that in human existence chronology, or are we talking about some other measure of time here? So in other words, when, you know...
There is no time,
Okay.
period. Have you ever been to the past?
It's all
Or the future?
Thought. Past is thought.
No. You think of the past, but you think of the past now. Have you ever actually been to the place called the past that you think about?
No.
Has anyone here ever actually stepped out of the now just for a moment and actually gone to the place that we call the past, or indeed the future?
No.
Or has anybody ever gone there?
No.
Could anybody ever go there?
No.
I mean, don't you think that if the past really existed, that someone,
Right.
just for a moment, would have gone there? Surely that must be the test of the existence of the past. We must experience it. What other test could there be? That's just scientific. That's what scientists do. They make up a theory, the theory of the past, and then they test it. Is it actually there? Can we find it? Okay, we have a theory of the past. Now, like proper, honest scientists, let's test it. Go there. Try now to go there. Try and step out of the now, just for a moment, and visit the place called the past. It's not possible. Nobody's ever been there. It's a belief. It's just a belief that we all take for granted. Is it your experience that the now is moving along a line of time from the past to the future? Is the now moving?
No, it's now.
How many nows are there? If you say it's now and now and now, like how many nows have you experienced during this meeting?
As I experience it, that's when it's now, right?
Yes, but how many nows have you experienced, for instance, during this meeting?
Only one.
And today?
Only one.
And in your life?
Only one.
Right? And how long does the now last?
I don't think I've ever measured it, but
it doesn't.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't last.
No.
The now doesn't last in time. There is no time
okay.
for the now to last
Got
in. Now is not a moment
Right.
sandwiched between these two vast spaces. There is no vast space either side of the now. The now is not a moment. We hear about them staying in the present moment, things like that. These are New Age ideas. They have nothing to do with truth or reality. Now is not a moment. Now is eternity. The ever-present, not the everlasting. But when that now is filtered through the limitations of the mind, it appears as time.
Okay. Got it.
The mind is like a prism which refracts the now, which has no dimensions, into a single dimension of time. And while we're about it, I won't explain it, this is your homework, the place we call here, I'll just elaborate it a little bit, I won't join all the dots, but does not all your experience appear at the place called here? Has anyone ever had an experience that did not take place here? In other words, have you ever been to the place called there? Because there is always the distance between, space is the distance between here and there, like time is the distance between now and then. So again, if we're just simple, scientific, we know what we call here. We think it's a place in space, but actually here is not a place in space. Here is the place where I am, the place where consciousness is. But have you ever been to the place called there? Could you ever go to the place called there? Has anyone ever been to the place called there? So if nobody has ever experienced the place called there, what does this say about our experience of space? How could we experience space if the place called there is never found? What would space be between here and what? You see, we don't experience, it's more difficult to understand this in relation to space than time, because space has more dimensions than time. But like time, space is never actually experienced. The here at which experience takes place is not a place in space. It is the placeless place at which I am, at which consciousness is. When that, which is called infinity, infinite, not finite, no dimensions, not extended forever in space, but no dimensions in space at all. When that dimensionless presence is refracted through perception, it appears as space. So the mind is like a prism which refracts the eternal infinite nature of awareness and makes it appear as time and space. And this is, in fact, I'm not describing some extraordinary, abstract, philosophical idea. I'm just describing our experience. What is extraordinary and abstract and philosophical is the belief in the existence, the absolute existence of time and space.